Hey guys, Bugcat7 here. Okay, it is Friday, January 10th, 2020, and I'd like to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research channel here on YouTube. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Alright guys, we're going to continue looking into the quote-unquote giants, or large hominids as I like to call them, state by state, and in this video we're going to cover Indiana. Now before that, I just want to make an announcement. I started a group page on Facebook, Stonewall Research, and here's a beautiful picture that you can see in my YouTube page as well, but it's just the YouTube page can't really see much. And this is a little bit better picture of it, although the real picture of it is even better. But this is in upstate rural Connecticut on the New York State border, and a remote area there in the Green Mountains. And this is a 6-foot wall that's basically like a retaining wall. This part of it, further down, the wall is, more or less like a wall with just huge stones in there. These stones in here are boulders, actually. They're like 1,000 pounds to a ton. And this wall is like 30 feet long and 6 foot high, and it's in the middle of nowhere. And among all stone wall ruins throughout this area over here, with all sorts of things, serpent effigies with scales, split stones, earthworks, mound areas, cairns, effigies, just dams, these blown up dams in these ceremonial areas. They're just unbelievable and weird, all kinds of strange constructions there. I'm going to be posting all my videos on this channel, on this page here on Facebook. So if you want to join up, I'll put a link to it in the description. And please do, I'm going to cover all. Shows me running through there because I had lost all my original footage of the area and all my photographs and everything. So I had to get up there quick and run through the area there with my phone. This is in 2016. I had been to the area in 2015. So if you want to see some great stuff, I'm going to be posting that. I'm also going to be posting Dennis D's videos from Eastern Connecticut. This is Western Connecticut, and it is absolutely beautiful area, as you can see. And I was there getting some really nice footage and of some very interesting stuff. So I'll be posting all those videos. And Dennis D's stuff from Eastern Connecticut, a site by him, which is actually recognized by, I think, federal parks system as an aboriginal area, but he gives up all the close-up of some of the stuff in the area there, which is just fascinating. And Dennis is a lovely man. I love him. And you'll like it, so join up if you want. You can comment, post, whatever. I don't mind. Alright guys, so let's get into these fascinating accounts from greater ancestors here, and naturally the first one is with copper armor, which just fascinates me. And they show this picture of the skeletal remains here with these copper, seems to be some sort of strange helmet and with a breastplate, and who knows. There were more than several burials like this throughout the United States, including in one account in Massachusetts where the guy had like a brass armor, and he was a little short guy. But who's to say, these shorter skeletons or those of like average height today are not like the juveniles of these people. They never explain that fully ever. Are they differentiating between the two? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think they know what they're talking about. Adena burial. One of the specific reports I knew about from the beginning was a report from Indiana in the 1920s. In 1925, several amateurs digging in an Indian mound at Walkerton, Indiana, uncovered the skeletons of 8 very ancient humans, measuring in height from 8 to almost 9 feet. All 8 giants have been buried in substantial copper armor, quote unquote. This was a report I alluded to in the podcast, although I did not have the reference before me then. This case and many other cases like it are cited on this webpage, and there are quite a few, and I've heard quite a few outside of the webpage there, with this copper armor, brass armor. Where are they getting brass from? And all these other metal things that are just unexplainable. Mound Giants in Indiana said to antedate the Indians, South Bend, Indiana. 8 skeletons, one of them clad in copper armor, and a horde of rare war weapons, I wonder what they were, and where the heck they went to, and bits of personal adornment had been found in a mysterious mound on the farm of Grove Vosburg near Walkerton. Vosburg, a 70-year-old farmer, had long desired to know the secret of that mound, which, according to local tradition, dates back hundreds of years. Secretly excavating this pile of earth, he came upon a strange burial place. Giant skeletons. The 8 skeletons lay in circular formation. Again, we see the circular formation again with the skulls together. This is reported before many times already, so it's evidently is a type of burial. And what could it be for? Apparently, this explains a little bit more here. 8 skeletons lay in circular formation arranged like the spokes of a wheel, the skulls together. Copper breastplates, bands, and other bits of armor adorn the skeleton of one man, who apparently had been of giant stature. Embedded in his skull was a beautifully chipped flint arrowhead. So the person killed in battle, or, what? And again, was this internecine, with this internal conflict? Because we have this large civilization, yet we don't have any idea what their outside enemies might be. But certainly in a large civilization, you're going to have criminal activity. I mean, it's just... You think everybody was like, yay, when they said, all right, guys, we're going to build this stone stuff and this mound over here, and everybody was like, yeah, let's do that. I'm sure there's a couple of guys who were like, I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this can't be, just impossible that nobody was like that. I'm sure there were. And then, these guys had to go face these people, or whatever it was. Maybe they went out to hunting these guys, and it's shameful to come back empty-handed, or he got killed himself, and his whole party there got, killed and buried. Okay, these guys are no good. The soft earth of the mound revealed other treasures. 3 pounds of ore, believed to be either silver or white gold, lie with the bones. That's a nice find there. There were corroded copper bands, with antiquarians here believe were used to bind war clubs. 2 pipe bowls, one of smooth black stone and the other carved with a replica of a fantastic monster, were found. And whenever I hear about these fantastic monsters, look, folks, this is shouldn't surprise anybody or anything. Look, the further back in time you go, in our era, which is called the Holocene, by the way, we're living in it, okay? And the early Holocene refers to a time at the end of the Ice Age, supposedly, which never existed anyway, but it's more likely that what Velikovsky was talking about happened, and not an Ice Age, but what seems to be an Ice Age is something completely different. But in any case, you have to remember that animals that don't exist today, that went extinct, were living back then, and if people saw these things, well, they seem to incredible, fantastic monsters that are make-believe, but in fact, these people were witness to that. Obviously, mankind's been around a lot longer than that. They were witness to all of these giant animals and all that kind of stuff. Okay, now that they know, some of these ancient digs are getting older and older, that the whole Bering Strait thing, they're revising the whole thing. I saw a recent story in Smithsonian Magazine. It's not the Smithsonian Magazine, it's called Smithsonian, and they're revising their whole theory. So apparently the people came here by boat, whoever the people were that came here by boat. Unfortunately, there were people already here of rather large stature, and who the heck knows where they came from. And all the rest of the large stature people around the world, what are they all about? A whole different picture of the past that you just forget about anything they say. Beyond that, they know nothing. It's They know nothing anyway. Believed that the bones are not those of Indians, but belong to the ancient and little-known race of mound builders, has arisen because of the great size of the bones and the fact that the skull formations are not those of Indian types. The skulls have little forehead and eye cavities are high in the head. The eye cavities are high in the head. So this is Steve Quayle. So Steve is, on the whole religious aspect of it and the Nephilim stuff and whatnot. So, whatever. And again, we're going to hear about more copper armor and other strange things. Noble County, remarkably large. Noble County was formed in 1836. It was named for Governor Noah Noble. The original settlers in Noble County were settlers from New England, known as Yankees. These were people descended from English Puritans who settled in New England in 1600, if they really were Puritans, or who the heck they were. Do you think the Puritans and then the people came after were pseudo-crypto Jews or something like that? Elkhart Township on what is called Sanford's Point, there are several mounds, one of which was opened some 7 or 10 years ago by the neighbors who expected to unearth some valuable trinkets. Quite a number of bones were found, and these were scattered around on the surface of the ground where they were left. No trinkets were found. An inferior maxillary bone found is said to have been remarkably large and sound. And here, this is fascinating to me. I don't know about you, but discovery of ancient tomb of Aztec man, remarkable find of Aboriginal giants. Some workmen, while digging in a piece of hilly woodland, discovered a curiously shaped stone that extended about 4 feet below the surface and bearing hieroglyphic characters. Curiously prompted the workmen to remove this stone cover from the vault, which was found to be circular in shape. The stone cover was 6 inches in thickness, so mighty big. In the stone grave was the remains of a skeleton approximately the stature of a giant. In the primitive times, no doubt he occupied a commanding position, judging from the care that had been given in building a stone sepulchre and the metal and stone ornaments found about this prehistoric human skeleton. The copper ornaments on this Aboriginal giant almost cover the skeleton. The characters on the stone cover resemble the phonetic or queer hieroglyphic symbols on the stones of Aztec ruins in Mexico, Central America, and Yucatan. Okay, this is all attributed to, the Aztecs. Who knows who the Aztecs were or the Mayans and if they came upon those ruins. Certainly their construction method was inferior to that, to people who lived in the past before them, who used completely beautiful cut stone and made all these monuments. And then I think the Mayans and the Aztecs would have copied their language and their ways in many ways, but weren't able to cut all the stone in the same way. I go through that in one of my videos, Rio Beck style, which I think. But here you can see the Adena carvings, stone carvings, how they say they look like these Aztec carvings and whatnot. It's so very interesting. Here's some other renderings here and these clay tablets and whatnot. Okay, so who knows what this says, but a lot of people say, and there's even one account here, I didn't include it, but where the guy says, one of the current guys, he's at this exhibition, of these ancient artifacts, and he said he found Hopewell currency. So they had a currency. So you're talking about a civilization with a currency, and this whole assumption that these areas were just ceremonial areas, that's all they were doing all the time. But they had this vast trading system and hundreds of thousands of people acquiring goods from coast to coast, all kinds of stuff, shells and pelts and skins and different things and pottery and whatnot. And, this was going on day and night, and these areas were used for different things. But look at this stuff here. So, anyway, I don't want to spend too long on that because I want to get to some more of this stuff. And I'll just cut off early if I can so I don't leave you on a cliffhanger. Well, listen to this one here, very odd. Morgan County powerful skeleton caught a giant outdone. It's very interesting that they say that. A powerful skeleton has been unearthed in the vicinity of Mooresville, Morgan County. A correspondent of the Indianapolis Journal writes about that place. Supervisor Brain opening a new road 3 miles southeast of this place on the land of Mrs. Martha Leathers unearthed a skeleton of the like of which was never seen before. It has to a considerable extent, the appearance of a human being. It was found in almost a state of preservation. I made an examination of the object discovered a few days since. Standing up, it measures 5 feet and 10 inches. Okay, so it's not very big. Okay, and we have to consider again that these are the juveniles. Okay, not necessarily the adults. Okay, the head is narrower and more depressed than the human skull. There are two protuberances or horns coming out on each side, or rather at the top front, resembling the base of those of a buck sheep, but instead of a curl, makes a gradual curve backward. The capacity of the brain is not more than half as large as is common for a man. The arms apparently resemble, because it's 5'9", it's not that big yet, but you're talking about perhaps a juvenile. All right, so keep that in mind. I'm trying to explain these things for you, but people sometimes don't think of these things, and mainstream certainly isn't. They're going to consider it as an adult. That's what they're missing. You're not evaluating it correctly. The arms apparently resemble those of man, but the greatest curiosity yet is the prolongation of the spinal column, forming a tail about a foot long, the end of which shows signs of decay. Probably in a living animal, it might have extended to the ground and, armed with a tuft of hair, have served as defense against flies in warm weather. There is a bony excrescence on the front part of each knee, as though it has been formed for walking on the ground. I've heard of this before. In case of necessity, the feet and hands are mostly decayed, so that I could not give a definite description of them. Since the discovery, people are constantly going to see the curiosity. The sons of Mrs. Leathers refuse to let it be taken away, but take great pleasure in showing it. The most difficult part for naturalists to decide is what race or species it belongs, as I've never seen or heard of anything of the kind before. It cannot be properly classed either with man or quadruped. So here's some giant something from the ancient past, which is just weird as possibly can be. And who's to say these other large hominid humanoids weren't around in the past? Were around in the past. We're not part of an organized society. Maybe outside of that, living in the wilds, or these other creatures. That these people had to contend with. Who knows? Okay, but apparently enough to have some sort of intelligence or whatever. Maybe more than we know. This is very interesting, this map that shows these giant ruins, and he's showing it here. All right, and you can see here these giant ruins and a little bit of a close-up of it, all right, by this great blue river that goes through Indiana here, which I have no idea really is. I mean, I looked on the map, I looked on Google. He shows some Google photographs here, but I couldn't find anything. Too much overgrowth. They're not showing it in this current timeline, I don't think. So there it is, which is named on the map here, Giants Ruins. Okay, who the heck knows what it is? And he's sort of mentioning here, somebody needs to go out there and verify this. The structure appears to be symmetrical and points to the southwest. There is more research that could be done for local quote-unquote giant hunters. We need field agents who live locally to go to this area in search of the giant ruins to see if they still exist. There are lots of clues on this map to follow. With the advent of Google Earth, this might be a good start for someone wanting to tackle a hunt on their own. Like I said, I didn't see it when I looked on the map. Google Maps, wasn't showing in the current timeline. In wintertime here, there should be no leaf cover at all or anything, but I can't see anything there. Well, maybe I'm not looking in the right place. Okay, they go over some caves in the local area. There's a lot of caves in these areas and whatnot, but they show these giant ruins. I wonder what the heck they could be. Okay, more horned giants here. Let's see if I can get through this. I think I got to make this the last one, guys, but there's many very interesting ones on here. I'd love to show you them all. Horned giant from Silver Springs. Giant's bones on Earth. Horns of the skull of a skeleton found in Indiana. Bones of a primitive giant have been unearthed by Alonzo Lewis, a farmer living near Silver Springs. The skeleton is more than 7 feet in length, and the skull has horns about 1.5 inches long, projecting upward from a point just behind the ears. Several similar skeletons have been found here in the past few weeks. All the peculiar bones were found in a gravel pit on the Lewis farm. So again, gravel pit burial. Okay, so this guy's explaining about, the rarity of this, but important because of the rarity, but many of the readers, whether a belief in aliens, the Anunnaki, Nephilim, or some crazy animal-human hybrid belief, like the ones from academia, in spite of the lack of evidence, we know that our readers have different interests and interpretations of the evidence presented. We respect the different beliefs. Okay, except for that monkey man one. It's got to go already. Okay, let me see if I can get another one in here. Largest skulls in State Park, Henge, Indiana. Largest skulls. Nephilim Chronicles. This is Fritz Zimmerman, no doubt. Valley website reports an article in Wyoming Daily News that Congress was considering buying the Anderson Mounds for a national park, as the mounds were considered exceptional in that day. The largest of 5 mounds is 100 feet across, 180 feet in diameter, and 10 feet high, surrounded by forest. These mounds appear to be planned out as all openings on them face the North Star. Not